the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my workspace is reset and get it cleaned up so that I can get all my tools. So I'm going to go to Abby Fav 01, and then I'm going to go back and make sure that I have reset that workspace, reset. All right, so that is how I have that. Now I'm going to press the Z for zoom tool, and I'm going to click a couple of times so I can get in on this space. So probably the first thing that I'm going to do is a really big hack and slash. That's the technical term for just removing something. So I'm going to use my polygon lasso tool, and I'm going to, as carefully as possible, get around this table and chairs. Right, I can't have any of these shadows. This is a hard project because I have to, this is actually pretty hard, because I have to try and recreate the floor and the wall and make it not look like a big mistake. Right, so right there, that's the part that I need to go away. All right. Unfortunately, even though there is a tool in Photoshop that will fill an area and pretty much guess based on the surrounding area what it needs to fill in for you, it will not work here. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is replacing content here on these cabinets. I'm going to use the Option key, and I'm going to unselect some of these areas that I think would be needing to keep. This part also, Christina, this is probably not something you're going to have to do. And I will tell you the part that you will need to do, okay? So you'll be clear. And then I could even keep some of this other floor content here by, again, I'm pressing the Option key and I'm using my lasso tool to salvage some of these areas that I want to keep. So I'm going to go and unselect as much of this as I can keep. Without getting too insane, okay? All right, then I'm going to go and essentially cut it. It's painful, it's scary, it's gone, okay? And it looks like I had a 1 pixel feather on the edge of that selection. And then I'm going to zoom in. Now I also probably should have put some guidelines down, which I can still do. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to create a new layer, and then I'm going to take the line tool, or make a line, more specifically, a thin line here. So I'm going to make a line that's 1 pixel, and I'm going to follow the edge of this perspective of this table here, this cabinet, so I can see what that is. Now this is on its own layer, so I'm not going to freak out because I'm not really painting on the surface. So now I have my perspective lines, and that's just an educated guess, just a visual guess. And now this is the part that you are going to have to do, Christina. So here is the clone stamp tool. Now, when you use this tool, it is my feeling that it is not necessarily going to get done in one pass. And I'm probably not going to do this entire thing because it might take me more like a half an hour to do this. But I'm going to press the Option key, and that makes a sample of the floor here, right here. Now the floor is a different color because of the shadow from the table. So I want to make sure I'm also on the correct layer. So this would be my correct layer. And I'm going to press I'm using the clone stamp tool, and I have a brush that's 45 pixels with an opacity of 100 and a flow of 100. And I'm Option clicking to set a sample, and then I'm coming over here and I'm clicking like 3 times, 4 times. I'm going to come in here. So I have a lot of shadows on the floor that were being created by the table. So it's kind of a strange thing to retouch because what am I putting back in here? So my whole thing is I really look for patterns in the color or areas of color, and I'm sampling a lot. So I'm pressing Option key to sample, and then I'm painting, and then I'm coming back over here, Option key to sample, and I'm trying to pull in the color of the floor before the table actually influenced the color of the floor. And you can see it's not really matching, okay? And that's because of that shadow of the floor, which makes it look a little odd here. But I'm going to do a section of this. Now, given the fact that I'm not going to be right now replacing this with some other table, which would be likely what I might want to do, there is another step that you can do that will make things look a little bit better. So that was a bad click there. All right, that is if you switch to this tool, which is called the healing brush tool or the spot healing brush tool. The spot healing brush tool is kind of neat because you don't really have to click a sample. You just paint in an area, and it's supposed to kind of seal it together. But as you can see, it really doesn't work that well always. It's bringing in a lot of highlights there, and it's not that great. Okay. Right, so that's trying to average out the colors in a certain area, so I'm going to undo that. Instead of using that, I'm going to just do this section right here. I'm going to clean just this one. I'm going to use the healing brush. Now, I'm going to enlarge the size of the brush, and I'm also going to check the edge that it's a soft edge, not a hard edge. So I'm going to bring it back to 0 hardness. And then I'm going to do a similar thing to what I was doing with the clone stamp tool, which is Option click to set a sample, and then move over and paint with it. Option click, set a sample, and paint with it. And what this does is it does a much better job of averaging out the pixel tonalities. So I'll slowly, see, you can't really just use this for retouching. Do you see the freaky thing it just did there? Not good. Okay, so you're going to be toggling between these two tools. So you're going to do some sampling and painting. And like I said, I'm just going to do a section of this because otherwise it would probably take me way too much longer than you want to watch. And then I come back in with not the spot healing, but the regular healing brush, where you take a sample and then you paint. And what this does is essentially is averaging out those colors. So it looks pretty bad, you know, some really dark shading here, but after about 20 minutes of continuing to retouch into this main area with my clone stamp tool, I can smooth that out really well. My main goal with something like this is I'm going to be recreating an area here, like I'm going to be putting in a different table, is to make sure that it's smooth enough so that when I put in the next object, it's believable. Over here where the cabinets are, you can see it's a pretty low resolution image, but if I select an area that I want to fill, not a good selection. I'm going to press the escape key. I'm going to try it again. Okay, so here where this back of that chair was, and I want to fill in here. I do like to use the selection tool to mask the area to keep it safe. And then I have to, again, use clone stamp tool. I'm going to make it quite a bit smaller. Option click. There's actually a seam here, so I'm going to bring that seam down. Option click and click. And so then I can know that I'm going to be able to stop in the right spot because I put the selection on. I remember about 20 so years ago when I was sort of underemployed, I decided I would master this tool. One of the things I can tell you is it does take time. You have to really analyze the colors around your objects and the objects themselves so that as you start to fill in, the work that you're creating looks smooth and real. All right, so this is okay, but not great. All right, got most of that. I don't have the seam right yet. And then I'll go back again with the healing brush, make it smaller, option click, and smooth all these pixels and deselect. So you can kind of still see it. So I'm going to select this seam here, which is like the cabinet door seam. Right there. And I'm going to copy it, Command-C, and paste it, Command-V, and use the Move tool, V, to bring this seam over here. Command-T, I'm going to stretch it up a little, and then I'm going to give it a slight rotation because it's really not supposed to be quite so straight. Right, so it's starting to come along. So it's little patches, little patches, little patches, and keep smoothing and keep smoothing. This part down here is going to get filled in with whatever color this is. It might not really be black. I would strongly suggest if you're pulling colors, make sure you pull them right from your document. Don't just assume it's black and paint it in, because it's not black. It's some other color other than black. It's actually 64K, 61Y, 66M, and 73C. That's what that color is. And then again, I will select this area, just give it a very quick little selection here and bringing it all the way out to where I think the edge of this cabinet is. That's a guess. And now it's filled. And in this case, I can probably just fill this in with a brush. There's nothing really that fancy about that texture that it needs to be cloned from somewhere else. But you can see the color's a little lighter, and I have this 1 pixel feather on that, which looks like too much. So as Nick was saying, it's like you're going to do things over again. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about working in computer arts is that it makes things faster. It does not make things faster. It makes things possible, but it does not really make things faster. All right, so there is a better selection. Now there's no feather on that selection, and here's the color again. And I'm just going to get a very large brush and deselect. So bit by bit, I can rebuild. Pulling the content from this wall up here, I would much more likely do something like select a large patch of this, like so. And instead of trying to use the lasso, use the rubber stamp tool or the clone tool as it's actually called, I would copy this whole piece, Command C, and then Command V, and then Move tool, and click and drag it down. And paste it again. Take another piece, went over here. And then I'll go through and look at the edges and try to blend them. But, you know, this is the kind of like therapeutic work that you do when you don't have a lot of other work to do. It's not necessarily something that you want to spend a lot of time on. You might be better just finding a better photograph. But that is the answer to your question. It's a clone stamp and healing brush, and then taking chunks and copying, pasting it. And the other tool I was mentioning that I do want to tell you about here is the content aware fill. So I could get rid of this no smoking sign, but it's probably not going to do a perfect job on this little clapboard texture, which is this texture with the vertical lines in it. But I could go edit, fill, and under fill there's a choice called content aware, and if I click on this, it's actually did a really good job. So now that's gone. The only reason why that works, though, is because that little sign was surrounded by a lot of area of what it needs to be filled by. If it has too many different things around the edges of what you want to fill, it will not fill it that nicely. It's not that great a tool. But, I was thinking this might be another, like, interesting space to put, some of my artwork on the wall. But now I'm just thinking it's just boring. But, that's what it seemed like when I started. And for whatever it's worth to you, a lot of things that I start working on, I do abandon. And then there's no way I could always do something perfectly every time. I try things and then I throw them away. And then I try something else and I keep it. And I think that's what Nicholas was saying when he was saying, like, make your mistakes. There's no way you can learn without making your mistakes. It's not going to come out perfect. Or does everyone feel clear about what it is they need to be doing this week? All right. Everyone good? Are you ready to go home? All right. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.
I just want to show you.
Please do. Please show me whatever you want to show me.
It's very rough. It's
so much better. I want to see these blocks coming up into this area. Okay? Super cool.
Yeah, but I haven't really worked on the type. I just randomly placed it. So.
But I think it's coming out great.
It's not a clutter, right? It's not.
No, I don't think so. But I think that if you're going to put these rectangles in here, you should have some sort of like tonality change inside those. Mm-hmm. Like just slightly change the colors.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. So you could do something like this. You could create a rectangle. Let's just say on this one.
Mm-hmm. It's already there.
That's okay. I'm doing something different. And then let's say I just made this magenta color. And then what I could do is go to, let's click that here, and I'm going to go opacity and bring this opacity of this thing way down, let's say to 20. And then maybe change the color. I just think you need to introduce a little bit of other colors in here, and
Maybe a
that's
bit of a yellowish tint.
exactly. Let's try that. Let's try some yellow. Okay. So like vary the tone throughout there to give it a reason why those squares are there.
And do you think if I draw it, it's going to look very different?
I think you should do it anyway. I like it. Nice work.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
You know.
You alright?
Yeah.
You feeling overworked?
No. I'm just
What's
when
up,
it comes
what's up, hon?
when it comes to this stuff, I'm just kind of slow.
Alright. You have nice handwriting.
Oh, thank you. So I worked on my poster a couple weeks ago,
Okay.
and it was a mess. So I scrapped the idea. But my theme is degenerative art.
Okay.
And I was doing the reading from a couple weeks ago, and I want to explore this whole idea of activating space. So I was thinking I could have like this big space in the middle of the poster where like half of like a neck with like the head off of it shown, and then half the face of a hand holding the head.
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay, and then like the font in the middle, I don't know, or like the type,
Floating.
yeah, in the middle between those two.
I like your sketch. It looks, well thought out.
Does it?
Yeah. I like the balance of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
That
You're
makes
very
sense.
welcome. Have a wonderful evening. See you next time.
Okay.
Just do it. Okay. I'll
Okay.
help you, but you need to have something for me to help you on.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Just do it. Don't worry about it being good.
Okay.
All right? Just freaking do something.
Okay.
All right?
Thanks, Dr.
You're very welcome. Very proud of you guys. Great work, people.
Actually,